Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Sean Huggins and this is Europe with Hugs. Thank you so much for being here. I am an American looking to learn more about life in Europe through watching silly videos and stuff on the internet with you guys. And today I have a cool video picked out for us. Check this out. This is "The EU is broken, but can we fix it?" This is from EU Made Simple. Check them out. Linked in the description as always. Why is the EU broken? I have no idea, but we're going to find out together. So, as always, if you enjoy, consider subscribing. We're trying to hit that magical 1,000 subscriber mark, so it'd be greatly appreciated. Just hit that subscribe button. It's free, quick, easy, and then you're done, right? You don't want to miss any videos. We got new videos all the time. If you enjoy, just hit the subscribe button. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's see.
In the
what's
early
going on
1970s, the Cold War was in full swing, and Europe was struggling with its identity on the global stage. Amid this turmoil, US Secretary of State Henry Kissinger tried to strengthen ties with Europe, but found himself frustrated by conflicting voices. He famously asked, "Who do I call when I want to call Europe?" Kissinger's remark highlighted a key issue. While he could easily contact leaders like the US President or the UK Prime Minister, Europe lacked a single figure to represent its diverse interests. Kissinger's question hit the nail on the head. Who exactly is in charge of Europe? This issue hasn't disappeared. In fact, it's only become more complicated. Today, if you want to call Europe, you'd have a list of numbers to choose from. There are 4 presidents in the EU, each with a different job. You could ring up the president of the European Commission, who handles the day-to-day operations, or the president of the European Council, who represents the member states. Maybe you try the president of the European Parliament, who represents the people. Or for an extra twist, there's the rotating presidency, held by a different country every 6 months.
Council of the EU. Hold on a second. We got the European Council and the Council of the EU, and the European Commission and the European Parliament. What? What the frick?
To further complicate matters, there's also the Executive Vice President for Foreign Affairs, responsible for Europe's foreign policy. And of course, there are still the 20...
Hold on a second. Are you telling me these are not the same people? This lady and this lady? Are the... You're telling me those are not the same lady right now? I don't understand what's happening in this video.
Foreign Affairs, responsible for Europe's foreign policy. And of course, there are still the 27 heads of state, each with their own national priorities. It's no wonder the question still lingers.
Yo, how many frickin' presidents are there in Europe? There's 27 countries in Europe, and there's 300 different presidents.
Who really speaks for Europe?
Holy crap.
This leads us to one of the core issues of the EU. No one gets it. Simply put, the European Union is a labyrinth of bureaucracy that even seasoned politicians struggle to navigate. Let's take lawmaking, for instance. The European Commission, one of those many presidents, proposes new laws. Seems straightforward, right? Sure. But then the European Parliament gets its hands on the proposal, amending it and debating it. And once they've made changes, it moves to the Council of the EU for more amendments and votes. And don't get it mixed up, because this isn't the same as the European Council, or the Council of Europe for that matter.
Whoa. What? European Council, okay, hold on. European Commission, European Parliament, European Council, Council of Europe. Okay, here we go. Hold on. European Council and Council of Europe. Wait, Council of the European Union. Wait, holy crap. Dude, my dyslexia is frickin' running circles around my head right now. I cannot keep this stuff straight.
They're completely different institutions with different roles. Confused yet? Yes, so is everyone else. And it's not just about the complexity, it's also about the speed. The EU often feels like a bureaucratic monster that moves with the pace of a glacier. They are logistical and administrative...
Well, good thing about glaciers is that they are melting pretty fast nowadays, so... With global warming, maybe the EU will speeden up its bureaucracy to the speed of a melting glacier.
Hurdles at every turn. Every single document and parliamentary debate needs to be translated into 24 official languages.
Oh, dang. Yes. I did not even think about the different languages with, like, official documents and stuff. Okay, well, that explains how it can definitely be a bureaucratic nightmare just communicating, not just translating one document, but just every single individual from all these different countries talking. I mean, think about all the emails and memos and meetings and, I mean, everything. Communication has to be at least difficult, Like, dang, that's crazy.
24. The sheer scale of this process is staggering, with over 60,000 people employed across the various EU institutions just to keep things running. And let's not forget the bizarre tradition where once a month the entire European Parliament packs up and moves from Brussels to Strasbourg for a week of plenary sessions, only to return to Brussels afterward. This ritual alone costs the EU nearly 114 million euros annually.
Dude, what is that? They go to Strasbourg for a week and then back to Brussels? Once a month? All of them? What?
Burning time, energy, and resources in the process. But the real bottleneck isn't the logistics. It's the diverging interests of 27 member states that make it so difficult to agree on anything. Take migration as an example. Since 2016, the EU has been trying to pass comprehensive legislation to manage its borders and fairly redistribute asylum seekers across the continent. 8 years later, yes, 8 years, and they finally reached a deal.
Gosh.
And yet despite the time it took, it's a deal that no one seems to like. Some countries think it's too harsh, others too lenient, and in the end, it feels more like a compromise cobbled together just to move forward, rather than a solution that anyone is truly happy with. And people across Europe are taking notice. This growing frustration is also reflected in the European election turnouts. Over the last 20 years, voter participation has lingered around 50%, often dipping even lower. Compare that to national elections, where turnout usually surpasses 70%, and it's clear that citizens aren't feeling connected to the EU. For an institution representing nearly 500 million people, this level of engagement is alarmingly low. And this leads to yet another core issue of the EU. Is it even democratic? Sure, you have a vote, but with a 50% turnout, only half the Europeans are actually represented in the system. But the problem runs deeper.
That's their own fault, though, in a democratic system if they choose not to participate. No? Am I wrong in that?
Than that. Yes, we elect members of the European Parliament, but the power they hold is more limited than most people realize. If your local MEP promises to tackle rising house prices or address homelessness, there's one big catch. They don't actually have the power to initiate legislation. In fact, they cannot propose new laws at all. That power lies almost exclusively with the European Commission, an unelected body that holds the keys to shaping Europe's laws.
Here we go.
The Commission has the sole right to propose legislation, which means your MEP is essentially waiting and hoping that the Commission decides to act on the issues they promised to address.
Wow, okay, so you elect people that can only vote yes or no on the laws that other people come up with, not even elected people. So even if you vote and you elect the people that you want to represent you, they can only vote yes or no on stuff. They can't actually bring stuff to, vote on new laws or anything like that. Interesting. Okay.
So even if your MEP wants to fight for your local concerns, they're at the mercy of what the Commission chooses to prioritize.
Wow.
And here's what makes things even worse. The European Commission itself is not elected. That's right. Unlike your national government, you have no direct say in who sits in the Commission or who becomes the Commission president. Those decisions are made behind closed doors by the 27 heads of state across Europe, not by citizens. Then there's transparency, or more accurately, the lack of it. This has been a recurring issue in the EU, and the COVID-19 vaccine procurement debacle is a recent example. In 2020, as the European Commission took charge of negotiating vaccine contracts on behalf of all member states, much of the process was kept hidden from the public view. Key details such as pricing, delivery schedules, and liability clauses were classified, with even MEPs and national governments struggling to access information. Only a few selected representatives were allowed to view heavily redacted versions of the contracts, locked away in secure rooms. When vaccine deliveries were delayed and Europe's rollout lagged behind countries like the US and UK, public outrage grew. Citizens and leaders alike were left asking why decisions were made in the dark, and the lack of transparency only deepened their frustration. So with all of these problems laid out, Should we just get rid of it all? Dexit, Nexit, Frexit, and the rest. It's tempting to think that dismantling the European Union would solve the issues. But let's go back to Kissinger's question. Who do I call when I want to call Europe? If we remove the EU, this question becomes even
Europe with hugs.
more difficult to answer. The EU, for all of its flaws, tries to provide a more unified voice for Europe on the global stage. Without it, Europe would splinter into 27 different voices, each trying to shout over the other, and none of them being heard. The United States, China, and Russia. These are nations that speak with one voice. And without the EU, Europe risks of being drowned out in the global conversation. Can Sweden save climate change alone? Can Latvia defend itself alone? Can Italy manage migration by themselves? Or can Germany, the economic powerhouse of Europe, negotiate favorable trade deals alone with China or the US, which are more than 10 times Germany's size? The answer is most likely no. Europe's power lies in its ability to act collectively. Without working together, we lose any meaningful influence in the world. That said, it's clear the EU needs to reform. To address the complexity, we need to simplify the EU's institutions, so that citizens and politicians alike can understand and navigate them. To address the sluggish pace of decision-making, we need to rethink the veto vote, which often slows us down to a crawl. To address the democratic deficit, we need to empower the European Parliament, the body that is directly elected by the people. And to address transparency, the EU must open its doors wider, with more visibility and accountability in both the European Commission and the Council of the EU.
As someone who doesn't know anything about this kind of stuff until I watched this video, I agree with all these things. It seems to make sense to me.
But what do you think? Are you in favor of reforming the EU?
Yeah, I'm in favor. You got my vote. Yeah, I'm down for all those things that he said. I don't know if that would work, but it seems to make sense, you know? Then again, I should be asking you guys because you guys are the Europeans. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with the things that EU Made Simple brought up in this video? Would you make the changes that he's suggesting, or would you try something else? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And again, if you haven't subscribed already and you enjoy the content, then please subscribe. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, so it'd be greatly appreciated. But that being said, that's all the time that I have for today. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.